In 1992, John Gottman published a study that made the psychology world stop. He claimed that he could watch a couple argue for just 15 minutes and predict whether they would divorce with over 90% accuracy. The scientific community was skeptical, no one had ever claimed anything like that before. So he was tested again and again by different researchers, different labs, different countries, and the results had. The question everyone asked was the same: what does he see in 15 minutes that predict the entire future of a marriage? The answer, and it's one of the most important things I've ever come across in this subject, is 4 things. He called them the Four Horsemen. And once you learn what they are, you will never watch a couple argue the same way again. Hello guys, I'm Akil and this is The Quiet Space. Last episode we talked about the 3 stable marriages. 3 completely different ways of being together. All 3 can be healthy as long as the couple keeps 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative. But what happens when that balance breaks? What happens when normal conflicts are becoming something else? Something that slowly damages the foundation of the relationship. That question brings us to today's episode, the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Gottman uses an image I find impossible to forget. Imagine your marriage as a river. Most of the time the water moves gently. You navigate currents together, you find your rhythm, but sometimes you hit rapids. The question isn't whether you will hit rapids, every couple does. The question is what you do when you get there. Because the danger isn't the argument itself, it's what happens next. And the first thing most couples reach for is criticism. The first thing to understand about it is that it's not the same as complaint. This difference is everything. Gottman says a complaint talks about a specific action. A criticism attacks the person's character. To make it simple, a complaint often begins with I. A criticism often begins with you. For example, I wanted the laundry to be finished by now so I can get to the mall before it closes. That's a complaint, it's about one specific thing. But listen to what happens when we change it. You should have finished the laundry by now. You know I want to get to the mall today. It's the same situation, the same frustration, but now it's not about the laundry anymore. It's about you. That small shift from I to you, from behavior to character, is the first horseman arriving at the door, and it's easy to miss. Because criticism often hides behind honesty. But something more serious is happening. The person receiving criticism doesn't hear feedback, they hear you are the problem, you are not good enough. And when someone feels like a verdict has been given, they stop trying to communicate and they start trying to protect themselves. And that's when the second horseman enters. Of all 4 horsemen, this is the one Gottman was most concerned about. If there is one pattern that stands out as especially dangerous for marriage, it is contempt. Contempt is what happens when criticism moves from you did something wrong to you are beneath me. It's the message spoken or unspoken that says I don't respect you, I don't admire you, I'm better than you. It can appear in eye roll, mocking, in a message that treats your partner not like an equal, but like someone foolish or inferior. Gottman called contempt like the sulfuric acid of love, and you can understand why. Gottman describes watching a husband respond to his wife's concerns with a slow eye roll. She stopped mid-sentence, not because he said anything, but because that one small gesture communicates something no argument ever could. I don't take you seriously. That's what makes contempt so dangerous. And every time contempt appears, the other person feels that message: you are not worthy of my respect. But love cannot grow where respect is slowly disappearing. Contempt almost always produces the same response, one that feels like completely reasonable, one that feels like self-defense. 2 horsemen are already in the room, and now almost inevitably the third one arrives: defensiveness. When someone criticizes you, when they attack you, maybe your first instinct is to protect yourself. It feels like the reasonable answer for an unreasonable attack, but Gottman sees it differently. Defensiveness often sends a hidden message: the problem isn't me, is you. And that makes the conflicts worse, because defensiveness doesn't just slow down the conversation, it stops it completely. You are no longer trying to understand each other. You are both trying to win, and when both people are trying to win, nobody does. The conversation becomes less about solving the problem and more about proving who is right. Until finally someone goes quiet, and that silence is the 4th horseman. Imagine you are in the middle of a conversation, you are trying to explain something important, and suddenly the other person stops communicating. They look away, their face goes blank, and their answers become short. They may leave the room or they may stay, but it feels like nobody is home. That is stonewalling. And unlike the other horsemen, stonewalling isn't an attack, it's a withdrawal. A wall being built brick by brick in front of you, and there is something about it we need to understand. Gottman found that stonewalling can happen when a person becomes so overwhelmed by a conflict that their body cannot keep going. From the inside, it feels like the only way to calm down. But from the other side of the wall, it feels like completely different. It can feel like abandonment, like punishment, like you don't care enough to stay. Gottman also found that about 85% of stonewallers are men. That doesn't mean men are the problem, and it doesn't mean stonewalling is simply a character flaw. There can be some physical response to marital conflict, and some people need time for their bodies to calm down. But understanding why stonewalling happens doesn't make it easier for the other person in the other side. Because while one person is thinking I need to calm down, maybe the other one is thinking you don't care enough, I'm alone in this marriage. And that's how a couple can end up hurting each other while both people believe they are trying to protect themselves. Here is what makes the Four Horsemen so dangerous. They don't stay separate, they build on each other. A complaint becomes criticism. Criticism can turn into contempt. Contempt brings defensiveness. And defensiveness can end in stonewalling. But here is what makes the cycle so dangerous. It becomes the relationship default setting. The couple stops having argument, they start having the same argument, different words, same ones, and the same silence at the end. And eventually they are no longer fighting about the laundry or the weekend plans, they are fighting about something deeper. And that's when the Four Horsemen stop being bad moments, they become a pattern. Every couple, every single one will have moments with at least one of these horsemen. They are not a life sentence, they are a warning, and sometimes the first step is seeing them.